welcome back to the channel. We're here with a match preview today. Stockport County look to take on Bolton Wanderers away from home tomorrow lunchtime in what is, it's a couple of season-defining weeks for Stockport County. Bolton tomorrow fighting for the playoffs. Wrexham next week as well, away from home at the racecourse. We don't typically do well there either. So, I do think we're in sort of the business end of the season. We're into the last 10 league games of the season now as well. And as I say, it is a season-defining moment these next couple of weeks. And it'll be interesting to see how Stockport County deal with it. But of course, the first challenge in front of us is Bolton Wanderers away from home. 12:30 kick-off yet again, back-to-back 12:30 kick-offs for Stockport County. And look, I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, Stockport County visit the Toughsheet Community Stadium. It's a terrible stadium name, by the way. Just call it the Reebok or the Macron Stadium. The Toughsheet Community Stadium just sounds terrible. Even the Bolton Wanderers Stadium would sound better than that. Obviously we visit there anyway for our first visit since the FA Cup first round tie back in November 2021, which of course did finish 2-2, which set up an iconic FA Cup replay at Edgeley Park, with the Hatters of course winning 5-3 in extra time. What a memory, what a day that one was. Of course, this weekend's meeting will be the Hatters' first league visit to what is formerly known as the Reebok Stadium. Since April the 3rd, 2001, the Hatters took a point that day as it ended 1-1. I'm pretty sure we take a result like that tomorrow, in all fairness. Bolton have put up a solid run of form since Steve Schumacher replaced former manager Ian Evatt. They picked up 5 wins from 8 league matches while drawing 1 versus Wrexham, along with 2 defeats to Reading and Bristol Rovers. A question for Bolton fans, if there are any Bolton fans watching, just how much of a difference has the manager made, and do they have confidence that with now Steve Schumacher in charge, he can get them through the playoffs? Because obviously Ian Evatt hasn't managed to do that with them. How much of an upgrade is he? Because I don't think the results have been massively that much better. I think they've had a similar run under Ian Evatt already this season as well. So put me right on that if you think I'm wrong. But I just want to know just how much of an impact has he made, and how much has he changed the team in these last couple of weeks since he came into the team. The only thing I can say is they must have had some form of an impact, because Bolton now currently sit 6th in the table, just 1 position lower than Stockport. With level games played, there's just 2 points that splits the 2 Greater Manchester sides. Of course, the bonus for County is that we've been far superior goals difference-wise. County have a goals difference of plus 18, as opposed to Bolton, who have a plus 5 goals difference. Bolton have actually scored 7 more in the league than County this season. I think the biggest problem for them is the extra 20 that they've actually shipped in, and I'd suggest 5 of them, which consider our place last time out, probably hasn't helped them in terms of the goals difference this season. Bolton's current number 1 goalkeeper is Luke Southwood. He has 3 clean sheets this season, while contributing to 25 of Bolton's 54 goals conceded. However, Nathan Baxter started the season as Bolton's number 1, and he actually has kept 5 clean sheets this season, which is obviously more than Southwood, but is yet to feature since the arrival of Schumacher. The Wanderers signed John McAtee from Luton in the summer, and I'd probably suggest he's been a bright spark for them this season. The 25-year-old has scored 11 league goals so far this season. He has 6 goal involvements in the league in his last 6 games, so he's on fire currently. And on top of that, they've also got Aaron Collins as well. The Welsh forward has contributed with 9 in the league this season. Does anyone remember Aaron Morley? Well, he scored the 5th and final goal of the game against County earlier in the season while he was on loan at Wickham. Anyway, without further ado, let's move on from that one. We don't want to remember that game. What am I expecting from Bolton then? Fouls, I think. They conceded the most penalties in the league this season, with 6, 2 of which their defender Ricardo Santos is directly responsible for. They've also had the most yellow cards, with exactly 99 yellow cards this season. But check this out: they're one of the 3 teams in the league this season to not have received a red card. That's unbelievable. They seem to foul a lot. They've picked up a hell of a lot of yellow cards, conceding the most penalties, yet they've not received a single red card this season. So that's very interesting. In fact, they're, as I say, one of only 3 teams to have done that. Only Wrexham and Rotherham, the only other 2 sides to have not received a red card in League One all season. Other than that, I know it'll be a tough game. It's obviously a home game for them. Late in the season, they're fighting for the playoffs. They've not lost a league game in each of their last 4 at home. They're actually on a record for that as well. I think if they win tomorrow, it will be 5 back-to-back home wins this season for them. That'll sort of break the previous record, which is 4, which they achieved between October and November. So they're currently equal in that. And if they do win tomorrow at home, it'll make it 5 back-to-back home games in the league for them this season. Looking at the results as well this season, they do typically lose to teams lower down the table as opposed to teams higher up the table. Other than Birmingham, it looks like they've managed to get good results against teams in the top half of the table. So that could be interesting, to be honest. It's almost a little bit like County. I think maybe it's a similar thing of they actually struggle sometimes in the games that they should win as opposed to the games that they would be less likely to be expected to win. So that's a little bit sort of interesting in terms of how it's going to play out. And obviously their home record of late is good. So I think that kind of doesn't really go in County's favour. I think something else that probably doesn't go in County's favour as well currently is the fact that they've dropped 4 points in the last 2 matches, of course, drawing with Northampton and Charlton. And not just the points dropped, but also the performances as well. Performances have been questionable of late, but I think they've actually been questionable quite a lot of times this season. Even when we have won games this season, it typically hasn't come from a solid 90 minutes of brilliant football from County. I think that's been something that even, that from the fans to even the manager has sort of picked up on this season. We have struggled to play for a solid 90 minutes of football. A lot of our good sort of moments has come in exactly that, just moments, and I feel like we haven't really been able to control games as much this season. So yeah, I think that performances of late have been a little bit disappointing. I've not seen enough to feel like we can go anywhere and sort of win, even though I know on our day we do have it in us. And obviously we did beat this lot 5-0 last time out. But I do think we do tend to sort of play better against sort of top teams around us, obviously Charlton probably being the exception to that rule. So I think that might play into our hands in this game potentially a little bit, but then it looks like Bolton could be the same. Whether or not that could play into our hands in the playoffs as well, should we get there, will be interesting. But I do think we typically do turn up more for the bigger games. So hopefully that can be the case tomorrow. I mean, when I actually look at it, and I look at it in terms of our chances tomorrow, but I look how it's been, all season, I think defensively we're actually really sound. I think obviously we look really vulnerable if Ethan Pye is having a bad game or isn't available for whatever reason. But other than that, we do look defensively really, really sound. And the midfield, we've got an array of options. Probably at this point in time, we actually got so many options. I don't think Dave Charnock quite knows the best combination to settle on. The forward line, I think it's clear that I don't think we score enough goals as a side since Louis Barry sort of moved on. Obviously, Cal Wootton, yes, he does offer other things to the team, of course, but at the end of the day, as a striker, you will be judged on goals at times, and he simply doesn't score enough. And I think the rest of the front line doesn't really score enough this season. Tanto, we've not seen the best of him. I think Michael Mellon obviously came in the summer. He's obviously gone back to Burnley, then back out on loan to Bradford. I think he's having a bit of a run in that Bradford side now, but it just didn't work out for him at Stockport County for whatever reason. Cosgrove has come in on loan. He looks like he could be a bit of a handful for defenders, but I don't think he has that sort of natural finishing ability. And then there's Benoni Brachy-Anderson, which I think is the one player which you look at and go, yeah, this guy means business. This guy could be the real deal. This could, be an absolute gem of a talent. And obviously we saw that the impact he's had in the last couple of games against sort of Blackpool and Northampton. 2 at Blackpool, we win the game 2-1. An equaliser at Northampton to win us a point. Obviously didn't get quite enough time on the pitch against Charlton last Saturday to manage to get on the score sheet for a 3rd game in a row. But he does look an absolute solid talent. There's no doubt about that, particularly at the age he's at. Just 19 years of age as well is unbelievable. But Dave Chalner said, up until now, he's been saying that he's not ready to start matches. So how do we move forward with that one then? I think at some point he's got to be given those minutes, especially if he's going to go over and sort of play for Iceland's under 21s or whatever during the international break. If we're going to miss him for let's say next week or the week after, then surely how can it be a case of he can't play 90 minutes or he can't start the game for County, but then he can go and play for Iceland's under 21s? That doesn't quite sit right with me, that, to be honest. And of course, this discussion, it does bring me on nicely to talking about the team news. I want to start with my predicted 11. This is the team that I would like us to go with, and then I'll go with what I think Dave Chalner will pick. For me personally, I want to see us go with a 4-2-3-1 kind of shape. We went with a 4 at the back last week against Charlton, but it was more of a 4-2-2-2, which didn't really offer natural width. I was pleased to see Ryan Radell come into the side. I thought he looked good down that left-hand side, but we just didn't have enough time in the game where we really used the sort of natural width from him at fullback. So I'd like to see a little bit more, but obviously in a bit more of a wide formation this time out with a sort of wide player in front of him. Hopefully play down the sides a little bit more. So I'd go with a 4-2-3-1. Obviously Adai in goal. I thought Hills and Ethan Pye did really well as a centre-back combination last week. I think both of them could have argued for man the match. They're outstanding. So I'd go with them two as the two centre-backs. Noyle and Ryan Rydell as the two full-backs in that team. I'd like to see Norwood and Bate as the two central midfielders. I want to go with Mika Hamilton on the right, obviously coming in January. Not really had a look in yet, but I do want to see us use a bit more natural width in the side. And I think he came on against Blackpool and played on the right and looked a little bit promising. So I'd like to see us shake things up a little bit, and I think he would be a good option potentially on that right-hand side. Obviously Camps, I'm going to play in front of Bate and Norwood. I would go with Collar, but I just think the guy needs a rest. He's been unbelievable for us this season, particularly at the beginning of the season, but I think he is looking a little bit tired at this point in time, and I think it would be a sort of healthy option for him to come off the bench, and hopefully Callum Camps can produce some magic, which he has done of late. He is getting in those forward areas a little bit more, and maybe by starting him in a higher position, we might see a bit more of that from the get-go. Of course, Tanto Alafi on the left, that does seem to be the way that Chalner is sort of using Tanto at this point in time. He sometimes plays in a sort of front two with Button, but does at times go out wide, so I'd like to see him starting at left-hand side position, maybe looking to cut in. Obviously, it's not where he's at his best, but I think it's the best way we can play to sort of get the best out of the team at this point in time. And then, of course, going with Benoni, Brecky Anderson to start down the middle. Dave Chalner said last week he's not ready to start 90 minutes yet for Stockport County, but I think we've got to start him at some point. Surely he's got to be up to the level of fitness now, certainly to start the game, and hopefully if we do the job within 50 to 60 minutes, then we can always bring him off, and hopefully the game could be done at that point in time. If last time out was anything to go by. So that's my thoughts on the team that I would look to go with. This is what I think Dave Chalner will go with, though. Of course, I think we've gone with the three at the back quite a lot this season, and I expect Dave Chalner will look to do the same again. I think he'll go, of course, with Adai in goal, a back three of Hills, Connolly and Ethan Pye. I think he'll go with Noyle and Rydell as the two wing backs, Norwood and Bate in midfield with Will Collar, and then, of course, I think he'll go with a front two. You've guessed it, Cal Wootton and Tanto Alafi is, I think, the front two that Dave Chalner will go with. So I'd be interested to get your thoughts on the team that you think Dave Chalner will look to go with. What do you think of the team I've suggested? What kind of team would you like to see sort of being picked in this game? How do you think the game's going to pan out as well? And is it a case of we cannot lose? For me, do we look to go for the win, or do we look to just not lose it? I mean, I think you've got to pick your battles, haven't you? And if Bolton are in good form and County are looking a little bit rocky at the moment, I think we've got to go into the game just expecting not to lose or hoping not to lose. But obviously, you want to go into it and you want to win it. But do we have enough in it, in us at this point in time to win the game? I'm not so sure. What I would say is obviously do try and go and win the game, but one thing you definitely can't do is don't bloody lose it, because we need to stay in these playoffs, and I think we are in danger a little bit if things don't go our way. That could slip away from us in this sort of last 10 games of the season, which would be a huge, huge disappointment for us, given the fact that we've pretty much been there all season long. I think it'd be catastrophic for us to miss out on the playoffs at this point in time. So don't bloody lose the game tomorrow is what I would say. I don't think we will lose the game tomorrow either. My head's telling me 1-1, but I want to go with a County 2-1 win. So I will go with that. I want to get your thoughts as well, score prediction wise. Do you think we won the game? Give me your score prediction, and of course we will be going live at 3:00. Sort of be reacting live post-match. So join us for that one to get your post-match thoughts in as we sort of break down the game, where hopefully Stockport County have picked up all 3 points. but at minimum at least a point. So that's been my thoughts on our game against Bolton tomorrow tomorrow lunchtime. Don't forget to like the video if you have enjoyed it. Do get your comments in below, of course, as always. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new as well. And of course, don't forget to check out that stream at 3 o'clock live, post-match tomorrow afternoon. As always, thanks for watching.